For years, when we talked about electric vehicles, one country never entered the conversation: Russia. But that silence, it's about to break. Because deep in the industrial heart of Moscow, behind factory doors once used for Cold War machines, a new kind of revolution is taking shape, and it's electric. With nearly $1 billion in state funding, military-level planning, and surprising partnerships with China, Russia isn't just joining the EV race, it's trying to rewrite the rules. This isn't some futuristic concept car. This is the Atom, a fully electric, fully Russian vehicle built to challenge Tesla, BYD, and every other giant in the game. Why now? Why EVs? And how did the same country that once powered the world with oil decide to go to war with the EV industry itself? This is a story of technology, power, and disruption. And if it succeeds, it won't just shake up car markets. It could shift global alliances. The question isn't if Russia can do it. The question is, what happens if they win? The shockwave. For decades, Russia wasn't exactly the country you'd think of when someone mentioned electric vehicles. But that's changing, fast. In a bold move that surprised many, the Russian government announced plans to invest close to $900 million to build their own line of electric vehicles. It's not just a vanity project. This is a strategic step to challenge both Western automakers and Chinese EV giants. For a country long tied to oil and gas, the shift is nothing short of a revolution. At the heart of this movement is a car that very few people saw coming: the Atom. Sleek, efficient, and designed to be smart from the inside out, the Atom is Russia's answer to the Tesla Model 3. It's built by a company called Kama, and their goal is simple: put Russian EVs on the global map. The Atom isn't just a concept, it's heading into production by the end of 2025, with 11,000 units planned for that first year alone. But Russia isn't just building a car, they're creating a national EV strategy complete with factories, battery tech, and charging infrastructure. And they're playing catch-up fast. If the West won't sell us innovation, one Russian official said, we'll make our own. This isn't just about transportation, it's about power, economic and geopolitical. The timing isn't accidental either. With many Western brands exiting the Russian market due to sanctions, a vacuum opened up. Russia wants to fill it, not with old gasoline cars, but with a whole new generation of clean, connected vehicles. And that ambition? It's not a small one. By 2030, they want to be producing over 50,000 EVs annually. It's a comeback story on wheels, and the world is starting to take notice. This isn't just a car, it's a statement, said Kama's CEO when the Atom was first revealed. And that car, the Atom, is more than just shiny metal and software. It's the beginning of Russia's next big bet. But what exactly makes this vehicle so special? Let's open the hood and take a look at what's really driving the Atom. Engineering the Atom. The Atom is sleek, it's minimal, and it's packed with tech that could rival some of the best EVs out there. Designed by Russian engineers but supported by Chinese manufacturing tech, the Atom is the crown jewel of the country's electric dreams. Its design isn't just about aesthetics. It's about creating a modern identity for Russian cars, one that can compete globally. Inside, the Atom feels futuristic. The cabin is built around a digital ecosystem, with a central control screen, intelligent driving assistance, and over-the-air updates. It's not trying to be flashy, it's trying to be smart. And with a price expected to be significantly lower than a Tesla or a Polestar, the Atom aims to put electric cars within reach of everyday Russian drivers. What's helping Russia move fast is its partnership with China. Rather than starting from zero, they're using Chinese battery systems, motor tech, and factory equipment. This speeds up development and lowers costs, while still keeping the design and branding Russian. We're not copying anyone, said one engineer at Kama. We're creating something for us, our roads, our people. Production is set to begin in Moscow's ZIL factory, a facility with deep Soviet-era history. Reviving this location isn't just symbolic, it's practical. With existing infrastructure and thousands of skilled workers, the atom could roll off the line quicker than most thought possible. For Russia, it's not about catching up. It's about leapfrogging into a future they can control. The Atom is the first Russian car in years that actually excites people, a local auto journalist commented after a test demo. And while the Atom's design and performance are crucial, there's one thing that really powers every electric vehicle: batteries. And Russia's got big plans for that too. Powering the future. Behind every great EV is a powerful battery, and Russia knows it. To take control of the electric vehicle supply chain, they're going deep into battery tech. The mining giant Nornickel, famous for its vast reserves of nickel and other critical metals, is now investing in a full-scale EV battery research center in St. Petersburg. This isn't just about catching up. It's about leading in a key part of the EV race. Nickel is a big deal, and Russia has a lot of it. The country plans to use this advantage to create nickel-rich cathode batteries, which are known for being powerful, long-lasting, and cost-effective. By using homegrown resources, they reduce reliance on foreign tech and keep production costs down. The world wants nickel, and we've got it, said a Nornickel spokesperson. Why not use it for our own future? But it's not just Russia going solo. They're teaming up with Chinese battery giants to build factories on Russian soil. These joint ventures mean faster production, better quality control, and the ability to compete on a global level. The long-term goal? A fully domestic EV battery supply chain, from raw materials to the final battery packs installed in the Atom and beyond. One of the more ambitious moves comes from Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear agency. They're now involved in developing solid-state batteries, the next big leap in EV tech. If successful, these batteries could offer more range, faster charging, and better safety. It's a high-stakes play, but one that could push Russia's EV plans years ahead of schedule. Our strength lies beneath our feet, in the minerals we've always had. Now we're using them for the future, not just the past, a Rosatom executive said during a press briefing. But building EVs and batteries is just one side of the story. The real question is, can Russia's big EV dreams survive in today's turbulent, unpredictable global market? Let's zoom out and see where they stand. The global EV landscape. It's not just Russia that's making bold moves. The entire electric vehicle market is shifting at lightning speed. China, once seen as a budget EV maker, is now the world's largest exporter of electric cars. In fact, brands like BYD, Geely, and Chery have found a massive market right in Russia's backyard. After Western automakers pulled out of Russia, Chinese companies swooped in, flooding the market with affordable, stylish EVs. Chery alone now dominates Russian EV sales, thanks to fast imports and competitive pricing. With models like the QQ ice cream and the Omoda, Chinese EVs are selling faster than any local competition. But this domination has raised concerns. Are we becoming a dumping ground for Chinese tech? Asked one Russian economist. It's a fair question, and one that Russian officials are clearly thinking about. Meanwhile, Western EV makers like Tesla, Volkswagen, and Renault have either frozen operations in Russia or withdrawn entirely. This left a gap, a vacuum in the EV space that Russia is now trying to fill on its own. With brands like Atom, Russia isn't just reacting to sanctions. They're trying to reclaim the roads, their way. Globally, EV demand is exploding, but the competition is intense. Europe is going green. The US is offering huge tax breaks for electric vehicles. And Asia is already far ahead in battery technology. Russia knows it's behind, but this also means they can study what works, skip the mistakes, and design a system that fits their own people, geography, and economy. The world is moving electric, and we can't afford to be left behind, said a Russian trade official at a recent EV expo. But going electric isn't as easy as flipping a switch. Russia's EV dream might be bold, but on the streets, the reality looks very different. Let's take a closer look at the challenges they're facing at home. Domestic challenges. Back at home, things aren't exactly smooth sailing. Despite all the hype, EV sales in Russia dropped by 63% in early 2025. That's not a dip, it's a crash. A big part of the problem is cost. With interest rates high and car loans harder to get, most Russians just can't afford an EV right now. That's especially true when charging stations are few and far between. Then there's the issue of infrastructure, or the lack of it. Outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg, good luck finding a fast charger. In a country where people drive hundreds of kilometers between towns, range anxiety is a real fear. One driver in Kazan joked, "You buy an EV and then spend half your life searching for a plug." It sounds funny, but it's not far from the truth. Another hit came from the government itself. In 2024, recycling fees for electric cars went up sharply, making EVs more expensive just when they needed to be more affordable. At the same time, cash incentives for EV buyers were slashed. It was a move that left many people confused. "Why push us toward EVs if you're going to make them harder to buy?" asked one frustrated car dealer in Novosibirsk. On top of all that, many Russian consumers still prefer hybrid cars. They see hybrids as safer, more familiar, less risky. You get the benefits of electric driving without the fear of getting stranded. So while the Atom and other EVs make headlines, regular drivers are still choosing what feels practical. It's a cultural mindset, and it won't change overnight. "The future is electric, yes, but not everyone can afford the future," said a local car reviewer in Yekaterinburg. So what's being done to fix this? If Russia wants people to drive EVs, it needs more than good cars. It needs a whole ecosystem, and that's exactly where the government is now stepping in. Building the ecosystem. The Russian government knows it can't just build electric cars and hope people buy them. That's why 2025 is all about infrastructure. Officials plan to expand the national charging network by over 50% before the year ends. That means thousands of new fast chargers along highways and parking lots, and even in rural towns. For the average driver, this could be the turning point. One of the more creative ideas involves retrofitting gas-powered cars into electric ones. Through new incentive programs, drivers can convert their old sedans into EVs, getting a tax break in the process. It's a smart way to speed up the transition without asking people to buy a brand new vehicle. And in a tough economy, it's catching on. The government is also building a national vehicle platform, basically a shared system that different car makers can use to build their own EVs. Instead of starting from scratch, small automakers can plug into a ready-made structure. This reduces costs and standardizes safety, tech, and performance. One engineer called it EVs in kit form, and it might just change the game. Finally, Russia is offering new grants to support local manufacturers. Companies that produce EV components, like motors and software, can now apply for funding and tax relief. It's part of a broader strategy to keep more of the EV industry inside the country and not just rely on imports. In short, Russia isn't just building cars, they're building a system. "If we build the roads, the cars will come," said a deputy minister during a press interview this spring. But building a system means forming the right partnerships. Who is Russia working with? Who do they depend on? And what happens if those ties fall apart? Let's dig into the country's complex web of strategic alliances. Strategic alliances. Behind every bold move is a web of relationships. Russia's EV push might look independent, but under the hood, China plays a major role. Most of the technology, from battery cells to factory robotics, comes from Chinese partners. In fact, many Russian EV factories are being built with help from companies based in Shenzhen and Guangzhou. It's a partnership based on speed and necessity. These alliances go beyond just importing parts. Russia is entering joint ventures with major Chinese battery firms to set up plants directly on Russian soil. That means local jobs, faster production, and fewer border delays. For example, one facility in Kaliningrad plans to produce hundreds of thousands of battery packs per year, with 70% of the tech supplied from China. One executive called it a friendship built on electricity. But there's a risk here. What happens if those relationships sour? If China raises prices, changes export rules, or gets caught in new sanctions, Russia's EV dream could hit a wall. Some experts are warned that overdependence on one country, even a friendly one, is dangerous. "We're trading one kind of reliance for another," said an analyst from the Russian economic school. At the same time, these partnerships are a double-edged sword. They help Russia skip years of development time, but they also raise questions about who really controls the future of Russian EVs. Are these truly domestic products or just Chinese cars and Russian shells? For now, it's a compromise. The goal is simple: get EVs on the road fast, even if it means sharing the wheel. "We need friends right now, but someday we'll drive solo," a senior official in the Ministry of Industry said. And as these alliances grow, Russia isn't just making deals behind closed doors. They're rewriting the rules of the road. Let's look at the new laws and policies shaping the EV transition. Policy and regulation. Russia's electric shift isn't just powered by batteries and motors. It's driven by a wave of new regulations. The government has rolled out policies aimed at pushing both buyers and automakers toward electric. Some of these moves are bold, like adjusting import taxes to favor domestic EVs over foreign ones. It's a clear signal: if you build it here, you're welcome. If not, it'll cost you. Incentives for local producers go even deeper. Automakers who commit to building EVs in Russia can access special loans, tax breaks, and grants. It's a way to level the playing field and encourage more startups to enter the EV space. One small company in Tatarstan said the new policies were the only reason they could even think about producing a small electric van. On the consumer side, vehicle registration rules are also changing. In some regions, EVs now get free registration, reduced toll fees, and even dedicated parking spots. It may not sound like much, but in dense cities like Moscow, those perks can save people real money. It's about making the EV lifestyle not just cleaner, but cheaper, a transport spokesperson explained. These laws aren't perfect. Some are confusing. Others have been criticized for changing too quickly. But they show one thing clearly: Russia is using policy to force momentum. In a market where habits are hard to break, regulations act like a nudge, and sometimes a shove, towards something new. The government can't make you love EVs, but they can make it harder to ignore them, one Moscow columnist joked. Still, all this policy change and infrastructure building doesn't come cheap. The EV revolution has a price tag. And it's time we talk about who's paying. Economic implications. Pushing a country into a new era of clean mobility doesn't happen for free. Russia's EV transition comes with a massive financial cost. From factory overhauls to new roads, chargers, and subsidies, experts estimate the total investment could exceed $15 billion by the end of the decade. That's a huge price, especially in a country still grappling with inflation and international sanctions. But it's not just about spending, it's also about what's being lost. As more people buy EVs, demand for gasoline will slowly drop. And for Russia, a country that earns billions from oil and gas exports, this shift could hit hard. "Electric cars threaten our own golden goose," said a former energy consultant. It's the kind of irony that doesn't go unnoticed. On the labor front, there's concern too. Traditional auto factories may not survive the shift unless they adapt. Workers trained to build diesel engines or gearboxes may find themselves out of work if they aren't retrained. This transition needs planning, not just in tech, but in people. Some factories are already offering reskilling programs, but it's not happening fast enough. That said, there's another side to this coin. The EV push could be Russia's ticket to diversify its economy. For years, critics have said the country relies too heavily on fossil fuels. If done right, this new industry could bring in tech jobs, global partnerships, and export opportunities far beyond oil. "It's not just a car, it's a new economic engine," said one official from the Ministry of Economic Development. "We used to sell the fuel of the past. Now we can build the engines of the future," a Moscow-based economist told reporters. But beyond jobs and factories lies a bigger story. Russia's EV push isn't just about cars, it's about power, the global kind. Up next, we'll We'll explore how electric vehicles are becoming a geopolitical weapon. Geopolitical dimensions. This isn't just about cars, it's about control. As the world races toward electrification, Russia sees its EV program as more than a clean energy move. It's a strategic pivot away from reliance on Western tech. With sanctions cutting off access to key technologies, building a self-reliant EV ecosystem allows Russia to regain some economic sovereignty. In short, cars have become political tools. By working closely with China and other non-Western partners, Russia is redrawing the lines of global auto alliances. Countries like Iran, India, and even Brazil have shown interest in joint EV projects or purchasing Russian-made electric vehicles. If these partnerships continue, Russia could form an alternative EV bloc outside of US and EU-dominated markets. Electric vehicles are also a way for Russia to soften its image globally. Instead of being seen only as an energy exporter or military power, it wants to be seen as a tech innovator. Green technology, clean energy, smart mobility, these are the symbols of a modern nation. We don't just drill oil, said a state official. We build the future. And perhaps most critically, this is a direct response to energy pressure from the West. As Europe cuts off Russian oil and gas, Russia wants to flip the narrative by exporting something new. EVs let Russia say, we don't need your markets, we'll build our own. It's not just ambition, it's survival. In this new world, energy is still power, but now that energy runs on batteries, a policy analyst explained during a national broadcast. That sounds impressive, but where is all this really going? Let's look ahead and see what the future holds for Russia's EV market. Market projections. The road ahead is long, but not empty. Experts estimate that by 2029, Russia's EV market could be worth over $26 billion. That's a huge leap for a country that produced fewer than 4,000 EVs just a few years ago. Growth will depend on government support, tech reliability, and consumer trust. If all three line up, the market could explode. More factories are already being planned in cities like Togliatti, Ulyanovsk, and St. Petersburg. These are places where auto traditions run deep, and now they're being rewired for electric. Each new facility means more jobs, more cars, and more chances to grow a new industry from the ground up. But the numbers only look good if people actually buy the cars. That's still the unknown. Will the average Russian ditch their gas-powered Lada for an electric Atom or Evolut? That depends on how reliable, affordable, and accessible these vehicles truly are. Until charging stations become normal and batteries handle winter cold, some may hold back. Still, momentum is real. New registration data shows that EVs and hybrids already make up 5% of car sales, with that share expected to double in 2 years. The Atom's launch will be a critical test. If it sells well, it'll prove that Russian-made EVs can compete, not just on paper, but on the pavement. The next 5 years will decide everything, a market expert said. This isn't a trend, it's a transformation. But numbers only tell half the story. Let's get personal. What do people actually think about electric cars in Russia? Are they buying in or pushing back? Public perception. Ask a Russian driver about electric cars, and you'll get mixed answers. Some are excited, others are skeptical. The truth is, most people still don't know enough about EVs. That's a big problem for a government trying to shift an entire market. That's why Russia is launching a national awareness campaign, using influencers, TV ads, and public roadshows to teach people how EVs work and why they matter. One challenge is range anxiety. In a country this big, people are worried about running out of power in the middle of nowhere. It's a fair fear. Many aren't ready to risk it, especially when gas stations are still far more common than EV chargers. We're not California, one driver said bluntly, but the younger generation tells a different story. In Moscow and St. Petersburg, where public transport and tech are more advanced, EVs are becoming trendy. Students and professionals are showing interest, not just because they're clean, but because they're cool. Social media is helping too. A single TikTok review of the Atom test model got over 1 million views in 48 hours. To win hearts, Russia knows it needs more than policy. It needs culture. That's why local EV makers are focusing on design, connectivity, and lifestyle. The goal is to make EVs feel like a part of the future, not just something the government wants you to buy. It's a slow shift, but it's happening. If we make electric cars something people want, not just need, we win, said a marketing manager from Evolut. We've looked at the tech, the politics, the challenges, and the future. Now it's time to step back and ask the big question: will this work? Let's bring it all together. Russia's EV revolution. So, will Russia destroy the EV industry, or will it just become part of it? The answer is complex. Russia is late to the game, but it's playing smart. With bold investments, strong alliances, and a growing sense of urgency, the country is catching up fast. The Atom isn't just a car, it's a symbol. And whether it succeeds or fails will say a lot about where Russia is heading. The EV movement is no longer just about the environment. It's about power, economic, political, and social. For Russia, going electric isn't just modern, it's strategic. Every car they build is a step away from oil dependence and a step toward global relevance in a post-carbon world. But the road isn't smooth. Infrastructure gaps, price concerns, and public hesitation still pose big challenges. The government can build factories, but it can't force people to buy. Success will depend on trust, reliability, and affordability. If they crack that code, Russia could become a quiet giant in the EV space. One thing is clear: the global EV game is changing. And Russia, once thought to be stuck in the past, is suddenly part of the future. Whether it destroys the industry or redefines its own role within it, that's a story still being written. This is more than an electric car, said the Atom's lead engineer. It's a spark, and it might light the way forward.